Let's find out more from the current CEO of Prime Roots, Kimberlie Lee. Kimberlie, thank you for joining me today on the Plant-Based Business Hour. Help us understand what you're doing with mushrooms, because when I first read, and you can go to your website, primeroots.com, but when I went to your website, it doesn't talk too much about what you're doing with mushrooms per se. So I thought, well, maybe it's the whole mushrooms that they're working with. But to the extent you can share it, what are you doing with mushrooms to make what products?
Yeah, so we technically don't use a mushroom. It's so we use a fungi. So fungi is a whole
Yes.
kingdom. So like just as plants are a whole kingdom, fungi is a commonly overlooked kingdom. And so specifically within the fungi kingdom, we use something called koji. And koji sometimes is called koji mushrooms. It doesn't have any relation to the button mushrooms or anything we see. It's actually microscopic, which is really cool. So the unique insight that I had for using koji specifically is that it has the identical microscopic texture as meat. And so when you think about like what is meat, the muscle fiber structure, there's a shape and a size. It's kind of round in shape. And if you've ever ripped apart like a chicken breast, you've kind of seen what that muscle fiber structure looks like and feels like. And so koji actually identically replicates that, but it is a fungi. It's found, so most people have had koji before. It's found in miso and soy sauce. And koji is responsible for, in those fermentation processes, to transform the soybeans into something that is really umami rich and delicious. So umami is a compound, is a taste. It's coming from glutamate compounds that are found in meat, and so that also comes from the koji. So there's a lot of analogs kind of to like animal-based proteins that are found in koji, but of course there's no animals involved at all. And so yeah, koji is the secret, really secret, not so secret ingredient that we use. It's the first ingredient in all of our products. And you can think about it like the roots of mushrooms. And so when you think about mycelium, so that's kind of that underground root network of mushrooms that, if you've seen the documentary or the movie called Fantastic Fungi, which I highly recommend, it talks about how mycelium is really like underpinning life, and it like enables
Amazing.
trees to talk to each other. And they are microscopic, but they grow together, and so you can actually see them, and of course you can taste them in our products. And it really is it's a wonderful material because it enables us to build any type of meat or seafood textures from it. And it is analogous in terms of the shape and size and texture and building block of meat. And it's a whole food protein. So we don't go through any like protein extraction or anything like that. It's a whole food. You're actually getting the whole koji. And that is, very different than a lot of traditional plant-based approaches.
So much to unpack there, because I want to understand what it is that we're eating. So you say it's a whole food, so it's not processed in an extractive kind of way. But are you fermenting the koji itself? In other words, what I want to understand is it the koji that is the base, or is it
It's the koji.
okay, so it's not the microbe or a I'm out of my depth here of the
Oh,
kingdoms. I know
goodness.
that there's a fungi kingdom, and I know that there's a microbial kingdom, and I know that we can have sort of biomass fermentation where we are, with the help of microbes, then harnessing or harvesting that microbial growth.
Yep.
Or we can stay with, let's say, traditional fermentation, so yeast or beer or kimchi, where we start with the product and that fermented product is the same end product. So cabbage remains cabbage when we fermented it. So does the koji remain koji?
Mhm.
Or okay, so it's the koji itself that you're growing.
Yes, it is a biomass fermentation. It's, I
Okay.
think conceptually I like to explain it as like very similar to kombucha. When you brew kombucha, you have a mother, and the mother keeps growing. And it's a very similar concept where it's like, you have a koji, one koji cell that becomes two, becomes four, becomes eight. And so it replicates quite readily. and quite quickly. And so we can go from, a start of a ferment all the way to an end of a ferment within 2 days.